Hello, David Bradley here. So, as our iPad is dying, because it's running out of power, I'm going to go back. I have found an original tape deck from inside of an old machine. And the reason I say that is, well, first of all, it has a short cord. Also, it has, where it wouldn't be seen, it has some ugliness here, some scratching, and I'm not sure what else. It's also, the case is a little wonky. Anyway, so I think this would have been an internal one, or maybe it was an early one and then they realized, hey, we really need to have a longer cord. But I think it was an internal one. But anyway, it does not work. So I found another one over here, an original looking black one. And I'm once again trying to load AstroShoot, because I know it works. And am I loading it into a PET? No. Am I loading it into a Commodore 64? No. I am working on, yes, a Vic-20. 3,583 bytes free. That's all it had. 22 columns, which on the monitor it looks pretty crisp. The other thing, of course, is these were supposed to be cheap and fast, and they could hook up to a television, and on a television of the day, they looked not bad. But it was some annoying when, you know, the PET had been upgraded from Basic 2 and up to a better Basic, so you could actually look at a directory without wiping out your program. And when they brought out the Vic-20, it had Basic 2. And I remember there was some guy, I don't remember who he was, I don't think he was with Commodore long, or maybe he was, but he came to a TPUG meeting, and he had, oh, it's ready. He always had not very helpful answers. And his answer to why not Basic 4 and why only Basic 2 in the Vic-20 was, and I remember him pausing, looking around a little bit, saying, there was a marketing reason. That's it. So, I'm going to press the fire button. I'm not going to do this much. I'll try multiplication again. I'll try difficulty number 2. 19 times 14. Alright, I think I have a number in mind, which I don't see yet. Or maybe I did. Maybe I have the wrong number in mind. I've lost track of what I've even looking for. And now I'm going to get hit. Oh, I snuck between the meteors. Maybe it will take too long. I've never actually let it go long enough to see if it will just say, no, I'm sorry, you're too slow. But I still don't see what I think is my magic number. Or maybe I just don't know what the magic number is. Or maybe the meteors are just not letting me see it. Maybe I'll try 320. Oh, I missed. Oh! Well, I'd almost given up. Went to shoot at what was actually the wrong answer. And hit the right answer. Imagine.
That was easy.
So, now, what do I find? What do I have? Why is that not spinning? I think this one is maybe a little stiff when it comes especially to rewinding. Yes. So this one, an original, black. Okay, I fast forwarded. Will it rewind? It's making some funny noises. maybe this is a case where, because it probably hasn't been alive and working for a very long time, maybe it just needs a little exercise. It is, I think, rewinding. Maybe it's finished. Let's see. Well, it's not finished. But I think I'll fast forward again, because that seems to work well, and maybe that will waken up some of the aspects of this that are not happy. I don't know. No. Of course, I remember in the old days, if the rewind isn't working, you turn the tape over and you fast forward, which I think is working. But, oh yeah, are we done? We're done. But would I rather to know if this is really working? I would. So I'm going to go a little bit. I'm going to try to rewind again. Nope, doesn't want to do it. Makes funny noises. Well, it loads and it fast forwards. I suppose I will look into this at some point to know why it doesn't want to rewind. Let's try that again. Oh, it's sounding better. Sort of. Hard to see in this light, but I think it's spinning. Oh, it actually rewound it. Magic. Now, of course, I've lost track of which is the good side of this tape. So I will press play, and I will figure that out again. So, I now have a Vic-20. Well, I have more than one, but there's one I know works with tape drives, so I can test Vic-20 tapes. And I have 3 different tape drives that seem to work, and one that does not. I'm sure there are others around. I somehow have no doubt. Yes, indeed. It's funny, I do... Oh, are we spinning? Yeah, we're still spinning. It might be... Oh, it looks alright. Once again, I still remember the magical days, staying late after school at Northern Secondary School, and there was one pet, and it was in the back room. It was like what was called the print room, because of course we would do our program. Oh, there's what fell. Discs have fallen. Heavens. We would have to do programs. Okay, it's a loading Astro shoot. We'll see if it works. We would do programs on punch cards, and literally they were like cards, the typical computer card looking things with a little notch in the corner. And you would either bubble them in, or we did have these other things where you could actually punch on a keyboard and it would punch the holes for you. And then there was a card reader where you would pump the programs through, tung, 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 and you could hear them go, and it would read them, and it would go down to the central board office, and the next day the printouts would come back, and you would see if your program worked or not, or if it had errors or warnings or whatever. And that was how it was. Except in the back room was a pet. And if I remember rightly, it actually didn't have the cassette drive built in. It had a full keyboard. And the cassette plugged in the back, and it sat beside, and you would bring your sacred tapes in. And you would try to write little programs. And you would save them. And you would load them, and you would save them, and correct them, and load them, and save them. And I tell you, it doesn't sound like much now, but back then, these were the kind of things that opened up the geniuses, the computer geniuses of now, sitting in a little class in the back of a room, which had a special door that had a special security key because this was the card reading room. We had no printer, of course, by the way, with the PET. No disk drive, just a tape drive. But it just took standard audio cassettes, and it was dandy. This, by the way, is working. It is indeed. What else? I just had a thought. It was a good thought. It was thinking about tape drives, disk drives, printers. Oh, yes, printers. It's funny, I still have my original Commodore printer that was made to go with the PET. It was a 2023, which meant that it had the tractor feed, not the other. The 2022 was just friction feed, and pretty unreliable with the friction feed, as I remember. This is still loading. So the first few times I did things. Now I didn't have a word processor, so in order to print something, I would make a program, and I would say 10, print, and I would put the first line of the text of the assignment, and then I'd put 20, print, and the text to do it all. Anyway, the first time I handed it in, the teacher, a fine gentleman, who was a veteran of World War II and who survived being held in the Japanese prisoner camps, it was the first time he'd really had something handed in that was typed. And it wasn't really typed, it was, the Commodore dot matrix. Oh, what do we got? Okay, that didn't do. I must have the wrong side of the tape. I'm going to do this. I'm going to stop this, turn it over, reset. So at least now that it's run through the whole thing, I know it's at the start. I will press load, or type load. I will press play. So it's funny, it found it on that. It didn't report an error, but it just got to the end of the tape and never stopped. So, yes, Herb Worthington taught us electricity, and he knew his stuff. And as I said, he survived being a prisoner of war, and he was quite a character, and I miss him. But anyway, he actually took my assignment down to the office to see if it was okay that he could accept it printed. And they decided, in fact, that he could. And it's funny how, I guess, being on the leading edge of things is, I'm probably not as much as I used to be, but in some ways we have found Astro Shoot. Anyway, I am. But now, of course, if you... Something stopped. We're not spinning. Alright, something is not happening here. Interesting. Maybe this one is not so good. Well, that is intriguing. Now this one does not want to spin. So, maybe it's just something inside which is old has just got tired of us. I don't know. One thing I do want to do is turn the Vic-20 on quickly again. I'm going to put this one over here with the other black tape drive that failed me. And just to see if it is the tape drive or the Vic-20. Power supply doesn't seem hot. That's all that's a sign. Okay, so that is in. Okay, that seems to work. So, back to, leading edge of things. Now, of course, if you were to try and hand something in that wasn't typed, it would probably be refused. Isn't it funny how what at the start is like radical and like, oh my, I'm not sure if I can accept this, changes to, it's not typed, have it typed, get away, don't give it to me. So, in fact, and other things along the world of social media, I've run into other things like that where everyone is so held on to the past that they can't move forward. And of course, eventually, some of the things that I have done online with social media to rescue people and help people will eventually become normal. And it'll be, if you don't do such things, you'll probably be seen negligent. Imagine. And it all goes back to writing out a program before a word processor, saying 10, print, quote, this report is by David Bradley, quote, enter, line 20, print, quote, probably just a space and a quote to put a line in, and then maybe line 30, print, quote, September, 1980, quote, enter, line 40, print, 40, quote, maybe another blank space, 50, oh, this is in, run, okay, so it's working. So that tape drive wasn't, even though it seemed okay, it's not. So anyway, that was my word processor, 10, print. Oh, you know what, it was probably print number 4, because that was the printer. So, okay, out of all of this, I'm going to leave AstroShoot in there. I have 2 tape drives that work, 2 that do not. Both of them happen to be the original sort of black ones that I grew up on so long ago. One with a long cable, one with a short cable. Anyway, maybe a little lubrication is necessary.
That was easy.
So, there, for the first time in ever, maybe, probably, you know what, I probably never, ever, ever, ever have used a Vic-20 with a tape drive until today. So, it is time to shut down, regroup, maybe look for some more tapes, and perhaps gather a Vic-20 and a tape drive and a monitor and set them up so that my little boy, Andrew, who is 8, can give some of this old technology a try. And it's funny, even though, of course, he's using mostly an iPhone to play all kinds of games and watch YouTube and stuff, he might actually like it. We'll see. So, until we meet again, keep playing, keep exploring, keep learning, and don't be afraid to do something outside the box, ahead of its time, which eventually will become normal. Until we meet again.